webinar today, Highlight Your Transparency to Job Seekers, Become an Open Company. Just a couple webinar tips for you to get started. You can go ahead and listen to us using your audio through your computer's microphone and speakers, or go ahead and dial in. You will be muted to avoid any background noise, and absolutely throughout the presentation, if you have a question at any time, feel free to type that into the questions pane, and we will go ahead and answer that at the end of the session. And I'd just like to introduce our featured speaker today. Jennifer Samasi is a Senior Manager, Employment Branding and Talent Programs at CDW. And from the Glassdoor side of the house, Greg Castle is a Senior Product Marketing Manager. I'll walk you through just briefly the agenda and then pass things on over to Greg to get started. So we're just going to start with talking a little bit about transparency, why it's important, what it means for Open Company, talk about the 5 steps towards achieving that transparency with open companies, and then have Jen kind of walk you through some of the benefits of being an open company. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass things on over to Greg.
Hello, folks. Thank you so much for joining us today. So the question of the day, what is transparency? So, I think in the HR space and recruiting space, it's kind of become a bit of a buzzword, and it's become a super important point for job seekers to be able to, excuse me, to be able to really see and get a sense of what it's like to work in your company. And that's essentially what we mean when we're talking about transparency for job seekers. Why is transparency important? Transparency is important because of the fact that there is an extremely high turnover rate of employees who recently join a company. As a matter of fact, 51% of job seekers, when they accept a new job, end up having buyer's remorse on actually joining that particular company. Maybe they didn't have a good indication of what it was really like to work at a particular company. They weren't given all the information up front, and you spend millions and millions of dollars on training up these new guys, on attracting them, on getting them, and the last thing that we want is that rapid attrition. And transparency avoids that, helps avoid that kind of buyer's remorse that a lot of people end up having. In addition, we have 68% of people who trust reviews when they see both good and bad scores. So while in certain places you tend to only see the good, so for example on places like LinkedIn where you really don't see a well-rounded view on what particular people are like, it's just basically all of the positives of people who endorse them or who have worked with them beforehand. Studies have shown that when you have both the good and the bad. I apologize for the background noise as well. When you have both the good and the bad, like so for example Amazon reviews, Yelp reviews, where you can see both sides, people tend to trust those reviews quite a bit more, which is the case on Glassdoor. Of course, you've got the pros and the cons of working at a particular place. Sorry. So what is Open Company? So we created Open Company as a program to really recognize companies that believe in the same thing that we do, which is extreme transparency in the workplace. We believe that employers really need to embrace that that notion of transparency and actively get out there and speak to job seekers and make sure that they're putting their best foot forward to manage their brand. Essentially, if you are not managing your brand story, then other people are going to end up writing the story for you, and that's not that's not always a good thing. You want to be telling people might be able to tell the story of how your workplace currently is, but when you're in charge of the story, you can also add in, where you're headed. You guys at companies are in charge of kind of the direction and the type of people you're trying to hiring. The type of people you are trying to hire. You guys know the type of organization that you're trying to form, and by being in charge of that story, you can better hire people that are going to help you achieve those results. Okay, so who can become an open company? Basically anybody with an employer account, whether or not you have a free employer account or you have a enhanced profile, an EP. So now let me talk to you a little bit about OpenCompany and what the 5 steps are. So we have created 5 steps in OpenCompany, and those 5 steps that you need to complete are all based on providing increased transparency for job seekers. So let me take you through what those 5 steps are. So the first of the 5 steps is to ensure that you have an updated profile. And let me also say that all of these 5 steps ultimately are on a timed basis. So in other words, in order to ensure that you're providing transparency and that you have the most recent information up there, all the steps that go towards providing transparency, which I'm going to go through now, need to be completed every 12 months. So as I said before, first step is updating your profile, making sure it's accurate and has all the information that you want it to. The next step is to add photos. Photos are a primary way that job seekers really engage with your company and get a good sense of what it's like to work there. Next is to solicit reviews. So we ask that you solicit reviews from current employees. These guys are the ones who know your business the best and really know what it's like to work there. And so we provide a couple of tools with OpenCompany that make it as easy as possible for you to get additional reviews from existing employees. Next is to respond to reviews, and we'll get a little bit more into this, but we have the functionality on Glassdoor for not only for job seekers, not only for employees and both current and previous to leave reviews on your company, but we also provide the ability for the employer to log on and make and respond to reviews that people left. This really adds that sense of community on Glassdoor and make sure that you're staying on top of the reviews that are coming out and that you are engaging with job seekers and providing any additional information that you need to. And the last is to promote your Glassdoor profile. So we give you a little badge that we ask that you put onto your career site that basically just says, hey, job seeker, you want to see what my Glassdoor profile looks like? Click here, in not so many words. But essentially, directing job seekers to your Glassdoor profile so that they can read the ins and outs of your company. Now I'll take these 5 steps step by step. You can go through them. So step 1 is basically joining the conversation, getting in, looking at your company profile, making sure all the information is up to date, making sure that the summary information about your company is up to date, and really just getting started. These are the 4 different points that we like to mention to employers in terms of what the type of information that they should be putting up on their Glassdoor profile. So the information should be authentic, should be credible, should be aspirational, and it should be relevant to the job seeker. Step 2 is adding visuals that speak to candidates. So making sure that you are providing photos that really speak to what it's like to work at your company is really important. Job seekers really engage with these photos, and it's one of the most highly kind of trafficked and utilized part of company profiles. There's a couple of different ways that you can go about doing this. We have a lot of our customers who do like contests and to get their employers to submit photos to them of different aspects of their company culture and what it's really like to work there. That's one fun way to do it. But overall, yeah, the basic consensus has been from job seekers. They really like these photos, and it really helps them get a sense of what it's like to work at that company. So this is a picture of what it looks like. So OpenCompany, all of the functionality in order to become an OpenCompany, once you sign up for an FEA and you have that employer account, all of this functionality lives in your Employer Center. So when you go into the Employer Center, you're going to be faced with, on the top, a large graphic that says, that gives you information about OpenCompany, and then it has these little rings, as you can see on this page, that give you a check mark once you've completed that particular step. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at a picture of what the photo upload page looks like, very similar to any other social networking site where you just go ahead and select your files and throw them up on the web. Step 3, get your employees involved. So we did a survey recently, and 78% of job seekers said that the ratings and reviews from those who are inside the company are really influential when they're going on to Glassdoor and they're deciding where it is that they want to work. So in order to complete step 3, this is what it looks like in the Employer Center. We've created this new functionality, which is pretty cool. Our product wizards went ahead and whipped it up, where basically you can drop in an individual email address or even a distribution list, and you can put in just information that kind of encourages them to go ahead and log on to Glassdoor and post a review of what it's like to work at the company. And then the system will go ahead and send it out as though it came from you. The nice thing about this is that it saves all of the messages that you've sent, and it tells you how successful the message was, so how many people ended up opening the message, how many people clicked on it and ended up actually interacting with the system. So this is really good if you want to make this part of your regularly scheduled employer check-ins. Something that we've seen more and more frequently is employers basically starting to use Glassdoor as their employee sentiment survey or as a major part of it. And so this tool that enables you to send out these mass emails pretty regularly, check engagement, and save them is a really good tool if you want to do it on a regular, if you want to do something on a regular basis. And you can have different ones, you can have different emails and different messages depending on, if you want to segment out the people who you're reaching out to by engineering, by sales, by, you can have a different message that perhaps resonates with different groups. This is what the invitation will look like before you send it out. And that's that. Step 4 is responding to reviews. So there's been a lot of employers coming on to Glassdoor lately and actually engaging with reviews that have been posted. The CEO of Zillow has been very active in terms of going on and actually responding to reviews, and we were in touch with him recently in the Zillow crew, and they gave us this amazing information that 4 candidates over the last 30 days actually mentioned that they were moved and influenced by the fact that the CEO was going on and taking time to actually responding to actually respond to reviews that people were posting about his company. It's a really powerful sentiment to be able to put out there to job seekers as a executive at a company, basically saying, look, we care about what people are saying, and we're going to address the information whether or not it's positive or it's negative. Tips for responding to reviews. These are a couple of different tips. We actually have, because responding to reviews can be a bit tricky, and with larger organizations sometimes there's different social media policies that come into play. We have some companies that have just taken those same social media policies and applied them to how how their employers should be responding to reviews or how executives should be responding to reviews. But in addition to that, we've also went ahead and created an ebook for you guys that you could find on our website. I believe it's in our B2B side of the site, just to give you tips on, just to give you more tips on kind of on how to handle these responses in a professional and authentic manner. And lastly, as we discussed previously, step 5 is promoting your employer profile. So this is where we ask you, we provide you with a small Glassdoor logo that basically you've got a couple of different options to try to match what the design is like on your website. And we ask that you post it to your career site to give job seekers easy access to your, to basically tell job seekers, one, that you endorse Glassdoor, and two, that you are active on there, and this is how they can check you out. So this is a couple of suggestions on where we would ask that you place that badge to complete the final step. The most common place I would say is via your career site. And this is a picture of what the functionality actually looks like in the Employer Center. So when you get to that final step, it enables you to choose the badge, as I mentioned beforehand, the style, and then once you download the badge, there's a button on the bottom. There's a place on the bottom where you enter in where the badge lives, and then the system, and then click Check Now, and then the system will check and verify that you have actually posted that badge, and then that'll be the way that you complete the final step. So what are the benefits of becoming a Glassdoor, of becoming a open company? So there's a couple of different benefits. The easiest one, well, there's two main ones, I would say. The first one is the fact that open company, by completing all the steps, really ensures that you have a whole and transparent profile. It's a great way for new companies who have just joined Glassdoor and really want to get involved. It's a great way for them to ensure that they've completed all the steps. It kind of does a bit of hand-holding to make sure that you have a complete profile. And it's also a great way for people who have been on Glassdoor for a little while but maybe haven't been as engaged as possible, as they should be, to make sure that they're making use of all of the functionality on Glassdoor. So it's a bit of a guide, you know, it basically will show you a lot of the best practices to engaging on Glassdoor. Excuse me. The second is that you get this this distinguishment on your profile of being a Glassdoor, of being an open company. Wherever your company is represented on the site, it's either represented by a small green check mark that distinguishes it, or when you're on your main profile, it displays the badge quite prominently. There's also a new, we just redesigned the home page, and now on the home page there's a way for job seekers just to look at open company employers. And we're also working on a couple of other different promotions that are exclusive to open companies on the Glassdoor website. We want to make sure that you guys are being recognized for taking the time to make sure that your profile is a open company profile. So as you can see on here, I have CDW represented in a couple places. They were great, and they were actually one of the first guys to come on board and adopt the program. We're lucky enough to be joined by Jen here today. And I just wanted to give her an opportunity to talk about the program and the benefits that they saw and give you a bit more information. So I will go ahead and pass it over to Jen over at CDW now.
Hi, thank you, Greg, and happy Tuesday, everybody. I just wanted to thank Shay, Greg, and obviously the entire Glassdoor team to allowing CDW to participate in this webinar. This is definitely something that we want to be associated with out in the market, so we're honored to be a part of the conversation today. So for those of you that don't know who CDW is, we actually are the leading provider of technology services and solutions for corporate America and the government, with over 100,000 different products from 1,000 different leading and emerging brands. We help businesses, government, and the education manage complexities of their technology, as well as maximize the return on their IT investments. In 2013, we hired about 1,100 new employees at CDW. We actually call them coworkers. In our total coworker population, you can see some quick facts on the right-hand side, but we have about 7,000 total coworkers working at CDW. Additionally, our net sales for 2014 were actually $11.3 billion. So you can see that we have grown year over year. We actually have a 30-year track record of growth, and some of the features of OpenCompany that I want to talk about today, I think, are main contributors to that growth. So on the next slide, you can see at the top, it's all about the truth. The unique thing for CDW is it's always been about the truth with our culture. And we have, for many years, demonstrated our commitment to feedback through coworker engagement surveys, which I think Greg mentioned earlier. I think he mentioned sentiment surveys. But we believe that honest feedback allows us to accurately identify areas of strength, as well as where CDW may need to spend some additional time focusing on. And I think the key word there is accurately identify. I think that there are a number of times that organizations or even departments within organizations assume they know what is great about their department or great about their company or great about a position, but it's not always what the people in the organization or in the department or in the job actually believe to be the pros and cons. Our partnership with Glassdoor has actually allowed CDW visibility earlier in the life cycle. And what we've actually done is transformed or transferred our philosophy and our commitment to engagement and feedback. We've extended that beyond coworkers who are currently employed with CDW, and now we have visibility into perspective with candidates that don't make it through our process for whatever reason, and even those coworkers that choose to leave our organization. So we're actually, I think, getting more diverse perspective on what our organization has to offer. So on the next slide, when I think about user-generated content, I really think that we are in a user-generated society. When you think of Yelp, TripAdvisor, those are, I think, the more popular ones. But then I even think when you blend user-generated into crowdsourcing, when you think of Uber, I mean, that is a model that uses people in the market. And so when I think about Glassdoor, it's really the power of word of mouth, and it's the crowdsourcing, the employee sourcing, or in CW's case, the coworker sourcing, to help build and define our employee value proposition. In a world, I also think that recruiting and talent is shifting from kind of an HR function into more of a marketing function, and there's definitely marketing related responsibility in talent acquisition. And so as recruiting evolves into a more marketing focused role, it's really important that we understand marketing basics. And from when you define a marketing plan, the number one thing that you have to do is define your audience. And So at CDW, we hired, like I said, 1,100 coworkers last year. What that looked like at the beginning of the funnel is hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that our brand, people that interacted with CDW's employment brand. Our population, our target audience is big and diverse, or large and diverse. And how can you, the question that I constantly ask myself is, how can you possibly provide relevant content that speaks to everyone that you need to talk about? I think gone are the days of, here's our employee value proposition, and here's like the 3 or 4 things that really make us a great employer. Now, with online testimonials and user-generated reviews, it's more critical now than ever, or I should say you now have the ability to deliver custom messaging to your audience based on who they are and what they want to hear. So for me personally at CDW, me and my team can't possibly know and find all the rich and relevant content that is going to add value to potential prospects. So that's where we've really leveraged information that we've uncovered on Glassdoor to help us really kind of amplify our brand. When you think about the power of social media, the power of relationships, the power of trust and authenticity, a recent example that I think of is the ALS Bucket Challenge. For those of you, I'm sure all of you have seen clips of it, but really it is people nominating other people. So it's that trust, it's people using their network to pour ice water on their head. And I looked today, and they have ALS has gained 22.9 or earned or received $22.9 million in donations. Over the same time period last year, they had only received $1.8 million. So to me, that really made me pause when you think about the power of word of mouth and how viral things can go. When I think about employment brand and another viral message, if you haven't looked or don't know of Marina Schifrin, I would encourage you to Google or YouTube, look her up on YouTube. She actually quit over a YouTube video that went viral. The second part of that I didn't hear much press on is the way that her company responded. That will give you a lot of don'ts on how to respond to reviews that maybe you're not in favor of, but you can do that on your own time. So on the next slide, CDW's commitment for employment branding was really critical, or was really defined this year. We nominated, or I moved from a manager over recruiting delivery, and now I specifically focus on employment branding and the candidate experience and other strategic programs. We felt that at CDW, we felt this alignment communicated the importance of CDW's employment brand, both to our internal population as well as to the external community. We felt that it was necessary to deliver engaging, targeted experience that drives a diverse, high-quality talent through our pool. And I think that Glassdoor is really helping us transform from delivering a job selection process to candidates to, again, more of that experience. Another thing that I've been focused on my role is really transforming from reputation risk mitigation. So I would say in 2013 we really were more lurking and observing on Glassdoor, and this year we've really taken a proactive reputation shaping position on Glassdoor, and OpenCompany has been the vehicle that has helped us do that very easily. And as I was listening to Greg talk about the 5 steps and then the steps within each step, what really resonated with me is actually how easy Glassdoor has made this for employers to become an open company. One thing I can share with you, since we have been focusing on our reputation, I looked at our ratings from end of last year, and I just looked at them, and we have improved in every single category as a result of CDW's leadership commitment and engagement to seeking feedback and reviews from candidates that go through our interview process, as well as candidates that become coworkers. So I think on to the next slide. You know, when you think about the number and the types of different roles that we're searching for, I think sales and engineering is talked about very frequently. But really, my goal is to deliver the right information at the right the right information at the right time, and really make sure that candidates that I'm advocating on behalf of candidates throughout the entire process. Well, when you think about source of candidates, you know, are they active or are they passive? You know, other responsibilities that I have is our campus program, our military, our diversity initiatives, as well as individuals with disabilities. So when you think about all those different types of people, now you think about if they're entry level or if they're an executive level candidate, and then now you add in area of interest. So are they interested in a finance role or interested in a marketing role? That employee value proposition is it becomes very, very complicated. So when you think about delivering the right information at the right time, you also are trying to think about the efficiency for both candidates and recruiters. We want to make sure that we're giving candidates the right information at the right time so that they can either become more excited about the opportunity and convert into the next step of the process, or that they can opt out so we're not wasting their time or ours. So I think that's really critical when you're trying to understand all the different motivating factors of a very complicated potential workforce. It's very complex, and that's where we've, on the next slide, really tried to get to the bottom and solicit reviews from the candidate experience and ultimately the coworker experience so that we can repurpose that information and make sure that we actually serve it back to potential candidates and position it and explain that this is from the voice of our coworkers. We're trying to add an emotional element to the job seeking process, and the reviews on Glassdoor is a perfect way to, I should say, infusing reviews from Glassdoor into your process, or information learned from Glassdoor reviews can absolutely create that emotional experience for candidates. On the next slide, CDW, as soon as we heard about OpenCompany, we prioritized becoming an open company. And I think what's really important there is probably the biggest hold up for CDW was, oh my gosh, we have to respond to reviews. Which ones are we responding to, and what are we saying? A couple of things there is, number one, if you haven't already, I would recommend building a response protocol, and this is advice that I received from CDW's corporate social team. What they recommend is, before you start responding, think about what you want to respond to. That will help kind of responding in the heat of the moment, and really the response protocol should include what types of things are you going to respond to, when are you going to respond to, and when do you escalate. And I also think Glassdoor does a nice job of allowing employers to flag reviews as kind of an escalation option. Basically, finally, I should say with OpenCompany, we at CDW, we actually felt that it was kind of an external, they call it a badge, but kind of an external reward or acknowledgement of what CDW was already doing. We were already transparent, and as I kind of started the conversation earlier, we were already doing engagement surveys, and our engagement surveys year over year, we have increased participation, which correlates to engagement. We already share those results back to our coworker population. With our engagement surveys, we are already listening to feedback and responding. It's been a part of who we are. It's ingrained in our culture. So again, OpenCompany and Glassdoor has just allowed us to extend this and really capture this information earlier in a life cycle and candidates that may not become coworkers. On the next slide, when diversity is huge, and when I think about diversity, I mentioned some of those dimensions earlier around campus. You have different ethnic groups, you have gender, so there's all of these different interests and, again, factors that will motivate people to make decisions. With over 6,900 coworkers, what matters to me may not matter to another coworker. Glassdoor really shows the variety in the reviews and gives CDW a robust library of authentic content. And again, as I mentioned, we can actually leverage that content and repurpose it when we put a Facebook post up or when we want to tweet. When we have Smashfly, a front-end CRM where we deliver email campaigns to a targeted audience, we can actually use Glassdoor reviews in our email campaigns to highlight what other people are saying about our position or our company, or even, if we're looking to hire individuals in finance, you can go out and find finance reviews and push those out to people that said they were interested in the area of finance. So again, I hope what you're feeling is kind of that shift from reactive to proactive, and how can you leverage what's being said about you to deliver the right content to the right audience. On the next slide, employees need to be heard. I think that the reviews, and I know it's been said by Greg and all of the literature on Glassdoor, but it's our employees' voice. It's not CDW's marketing voice. It's not what Jen Samaisi who oversees employment branding thinks. It's not what our CEO thinks. It's not what our chief HR officer thinks. It's real life feelings, emotions, and opinions from the people that for CDW matter the most. I've already talked about that it does give more variety and more dimension to your employer brand. And then ultimately, it really helps with engagement. That will not only help you attract the right talent, but at the end of the day, we all are responsible for delivering business results, and the right high-quality engaged talent will help you meet and exceed business results. Lastly, and just, the cycle goes on and on. Glassdoor, like I said, has made it really easy, but not what you need to do, and I think what will help you sustain the momentum is really not just reviewing what's out on Glassdoor, but also disseminating that within your organization to make sure it's getting to the right people that can take action on that information. And, pat yourself on the back for the things that you're doing well, and then acknowledge the things that you do need to focus on as an organization, but then take action, so you can come back to the job seeker community and let them know the results of your efforts. I've talked to my account manager, and it's alarming to me when he says that there are some organizations that still haven't even claimed their page. To me, I think OpenCompany is a no-brainer. What CDW is actually doing is we are encouraging our candidates to go to Glassdoor when they are looking at 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, however many employers, and encouraging them to look for the OpenCompany badge, because we know that that differentiates CDW among some of the competition. So, you know, I was thinking about truth just really kind of stands out for me with OpenCompany. And I thought of the Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise, A Few Good Men, and there's that scene where Tom Cruise they're in the, oh my gosh, the law room. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of what that's called, but they're in the courtroom, and you know, Tom Cruise says, "I want the truth," and then Jack Nicholson responds and says, "You can't handle the truth." What I know is that the conversation is happening with or without you, and when I kind of think about it in its simplest form, you have 3 choices. You can do nothing, which I would say that would actually be more detrimental than the negative reviews that are out there, or the potential negative reviews. We're all companies, we're all employees of some company, that there's good days and there's bad days, so we know it's not roses, but I think that goes back to that authentic and transparent organization. You have to know what people are saying about you, and then hopefully you're taking action. So you can do nothing. You can watch. I think that is better than doing nothing. I also think it's not the best, because job seekers are going to expect the badge. I think Glassdoor is doing a great job of advertising and educating employers and job seekers on the importance of transparency. So I feel the quicker you kind of jump on the OpenCompany bandwagon, the better. And so that gets me to the final choice you have, or the final option. You can participate in OpenCompany, and I know Greg mentioned earlier a few benefits, but ultimately this option gives you the most control over your brand. It gives your company a voice. You're in a better position of influence. You can use that content, like I've talked about, in other channels. I also love that Glassdoor is doing press on their OpenCompanies, and they've highlighted CDW, so that's free third-party press on our organization. And then most importantly, it does give confidence to the job-seeking community. And to kind of echo what Greg said earlier, at the end of the day, you're in charge of your story if you participate in OpenCompany. So with that, I think that's it for me. I'll turn it back over to Shay and Greg.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jen. Thanks so much to Greg and Jen for running us through the importance of becoming an open company. If you have any last-minute questions, feel free to type them in now. You should be seeing on your screen now a little slide that emphasizes the importance of the Glassdoor first ever Employer Branding Summit that's coming up on September 12th. So we invite everyone on here to go ahead and register for the live stream. You can see there's going to be some awesome people showing up and presenting, talking about the importance of an employer brand and how to broadcast it out to the world. So definitely feel free to go to employers.glassdoor.com/GD Summit to register for that. Again, it will be an all-day event on September 12th. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look and see what questions we've received. There's a couple questions in here about whether or not you'll receive a link to the slides in the recording. Absolutely, you should have those materials at the end of the session. Also, there's a couple questions about where you can find some resources regarding OpenCompany and maybe some other ebooks that talk about, how to respond to reviews and some of those steps to become an OpenCompany. Those are all on our employers.glassdoor.com site under a resources tab. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. There's a question here for Greg. I'll pass it on over to him about whether or not you have to be a paying member of Glassdoor to become an OpenCompany.
So that's a good question. I should have addressed that. You do not need to be a paying customer to be an OpenCompany. It's open to both those who have an enhanced profile and pay for that, and those who don't and just have a standard company profile on Glassdoor. In addition to participate in it, it's completely open to everybody, and to participate in it, there's no cost to you guys at all. We just want to help you guys build the best profiles, have the most engaging content, be as transparent as possible about what it's like to work at your company, and then recognize you for doing so.
All right, thanks, Greg. Looks like there's a question for Jen. Jen, what would you say for you in CDW, what is the #1 benefit of being an OpenCompany on Glassdoor?
Oh my gosh, it's hard to pick just one. I would say that it goes back to that authentic. It's nothing that I created. It's nothing that our marketing team created. We didn't outsource this to a recruitment marketing organization. It is truly what our coworkers believe it's like to work here. And I think that one thing that I think about is, even if I told you how great it was to work in talent acquisition, somebody else that works in talent acquisition at CDW could think 2 to 3 to 4 other things that are great working in our organization are better than what I mentioned. So, again, I just think it's a diverse perspective of our organization, and I mean, it's a lot of work. So we've done a lot of education on the importance of reviews, and so I mean, I'm in Glassdoor a lot, and just to meet the minimum standards for the OpenCompany is easy. However, if it could be a full-time job depending on the number of reviews that you have. To us, what really kind of spoke is the amount of traffic that's coming to Glassdoor. They're going there. Again, the conversation's happening with or without you. So do you want to get in and be a part of it, or are you going to sit and kind of watch from the sidelines? And what we've done is really now we're trying to use the badge and use some of our reviews to our advantage. There's also, I think, strategic ways that you can use reviews that I know Glassdoor has highlighted in the past. But for example, if you are hiring engineers in that tough-to-fill market, have your engineering community go out and write reviews about what it's like to work there, so that when an engineer comes to Glassdoor to learn about that opportunity, they're seeing relevant content that is compelling. So I think that there's so many benefits. I guess it's more the flip side. If you're not doing it, I guess Greg mentioned earlier that CDW, we were one of the first, and I think I was trying to be in the first 25 because to me, I want to be ahead of the game, and I want to be an early adopter, and I want to be out in the market as quickly as possible to say that, yes, CDW is participating. I don't want to be on the tail end of this, that I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it. And I think that in itself speaks to the job-seeking community.
Great. Thanks so much, Jen. Let's see. Here's a question for Greg. Do we actually have to sign up to become an OpenCompany?
So you do not need to sign up. when you log into your Employer Center and you look under the Edit Profiles tab, there is you'll see it right there, the information about OpenCompany and how to complete all the steps.
All right, and we're getting down to a couple left. Another one for Greg. Can you track the number of people who go ahead and look at your profile on Glassdoor?
Yeah, absolutely. From the Employer Center, if you go under the Insights tab, that gives you information about how many page views you've gotten, as well as loads of other really useful data on the demographics, on their general demographics, the types of positions people are looking at. There's a huge amount of data in the Employer Center that really enables you to see the type of candidates that you're attracting and what actions they're performing.
All right, and we're just going to take one more and then wrap up. For Greg, what types of reviews should we escalate on Glassdoor? If we want to flag one, how do we go about doing that?
So we have a pretty strict community guidelines policy as to what types of reviews we allow. All of the information on Glassdoor is moderated and has human eyes on it to make sure that we uphold a certain level of professionalism on the site. So if something is, you believe, outside of what community guidelines are, and I encourage you to actually check out our community guidelines, but if you feel something is outside of those guidelines and it's gotten through our content team, there's an option on any of the reviews to flag the content when you're logged in as an employer, and then our content team will go ahead and review that.
All right, with that, we're going to let you guys out a little bit early. It looks like we have about 8 minutes left to give back to you. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box and we can follow up at the end of the session. But again, I just really wanted to thank you all for attending and thank Jen and Greg for go ahead and providing such interesting information on OpenCompany. And we look forward to seeing you guys at another Glassdoor webinar and really hope that you can enjoy the live stream of the Glassdoor Employer Branding Summit with us. Thanks again for coming today and have a great rest of your day.